been a minute since I've done a video for the channel. I'm not gonna lie, I've been very upset, angry, depressed, scared, nervous with Trump's win. And I've had my share of people come on my channel, MAGA come on, in replying to my commentary on other people's channel, kind of bragging. I have never been so positive in my lifetime what's coming than I am now. And now I'm just sad. Sad that I've actually been vindicated in many ways. That it's not a surprise that we are where we are. And the Democratic Party owns a big part of that responsibility. If anything, they knew and they understood. They knew better. You Democratic leadership, you fuck asses knew better. You know better. It's about the goddamn money and the fucking economy. And I'm not going to apologize for cussing. I don't give a fuck. I'm tired and I'm upset. Tired of being sick and poor my whole fucking life after working my goddamn asses off. Trying to do everything right and I get shit on all my life. We're going to talk about that for a minute. So you don't like what's coming up? You don't like to talk about sex and perverts and goddamn pedophiles and goddamn fucking politics and goddamn unfair world? Fuck off. Kick rocks. Go find another damn channel to piss on. Ain't enough of y'all on my channel to subscribe to give it to make it worth a whole lot of effort anyway. It's just a place for me to bitch. My God. My parents bought a house in 1972, way out in the fucking countryside. Small town. Moved away from Des Moines. My dad married my mom. She was 18 years old and already had me. Dad was 38. You do the math. Dad came out of the Marine Corps, was a bachelor for a number of years, then decided to get married. He married in 1966, late 1966. I wasn't quite yet a year old. He married my mom. And I ain't his son. Although he adopted me, legally, he made me his son, and he raised me. He did not treat me good. He did not treat me good as a son. But he did raise me. He is the man I know as dad. Because my real dad, I don't know him from Adam. And at this point in my life, I don't care. He's probably dead. And I don't know what his circumstances or what his life was. And that's one of those things Mom never talked to me about. And I didn't think to ask her before she passed away. If you have unspoken baggage in your life, my friends, for the love of God, talk to your parents now while you can. Don't regret not having those conversations, even if they're hard. So 1972, I was 6 years old, and my parents bought their second house. They bought a house in Des Moines. Dad bought a house right out of, right as they got married. Dad had the GI Bill, although I don't think he used it. He was in the Marine Corps for damn near 20 years. He was in the Marine Corps a long damn time. Served in Korea. Different man from a different era from my mom. They were about as sandpaper and new paint. That's about as compatible as they are their whole lives. People don't stick together today like they did for the bullshit they put each other through. How and why they didn't is because, once again, they were people of a different era. So you didn't talk about your little unborn baby that much. So I didn't get a lot of love from my stepdad. I really didn't. And it didn't help that he spent most of his years working the second shift. That's 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock at the local Firestone. Was Bridgestone now. I can see the goddamn plant from my front door. I can walk out to the end of my driveway and look right across, right up the half block up the street, and there it is. There's the factory he worked at for 30 years. He retired from there with a fucking pension. A fucking pension. In the 70s, he was making $16 damn an hour. I make 19. How's that not fucked up, Democrats? How is that not fucked up? Oh, but we're just getting started on this video. My folks moved out there to the small town in a 4-bedroom farmhouse on a 3.5-acre property. Had 2 cars, sometimes 3. Took a vacation once in a while, although my dad was never one to spend money on nice vacations. His idea of a vacation was driving to Omaha to look at somebody's clock collection while me and my sister and mom sat out in the 100 degree unair conditioned car. That was Dad's idea of a vacation. But hey, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Basic, everything we needed, he was able to cover. Mom never had to have a full-time job. After my sister graduated, Mom got a job, mostly to get something to do, get out of the house, and have her own money so she didn't have to yell or have arguments with Dad all the time about money. She had to have her own, she wanted her own personal money. And none of that personal money had to go to help support the household. None of it. Can you do that now? Can you do that now? Very few people can. And live this so-called American dream. Oh, but it gets lovelier. I was raised in a Pentecostal faith. If you don't know what Pentecostals are, Google them. My grandparents, both were registered ministers, held church in their house through the mid-70s, late 70s. Early 81, my grandfather was gifted an old 1-bedroom church for $1 from a previous pastor who was retired and getting out of the business. And it didn't have a bathroom at all. It actually had an outhouse out back. This is the Lower East Side of Des Moines, by the way, and they had an outhouse in the early 80s. Because as soon as I got my driver's license at 16, I would go over and mow Grandpa's church on a regular basis. I'd go over and mow his house. 32 cousins. How many of you fuck asses went and mowed Grandpa's houses? Went over and mowed his goddamn church? How many of you? That I'm aware of. Maybe I'm just the oddball son, the grandson, the oddball son. I was a bit closer to my grandparents than some people, in part because that 1-year window, when I was born, my mom separated from the guy that got her pregnant. I never defined whether or not she married that man or not. That was never nothing I cared to know about at the time, and kind of wish I had clarified now. But she lived with Grandma and Grandpa for most of that first year, and they treated me like I was one of their children. And for years after, it was quite common for me to spend 2-3 weeks every summer at my grandparents'. I'd go in for a couple days, a week, go home for the next month, do it again. As I got a little older, I would split my time. I would spend a week or so at my aunt and uncle's house, and a week or so at my grandparents' house. Why is that important? Here's a part I don't like to talk about my life. And perhaps the things have been different, but they weren't. So my Uncle Bob, he liked little boys. He liked little girls too. I was 6 or 7. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was staying the night over there at his house. I was sleeping on the couch. They had air conditioning. That was the biggest reason I wanted to spend summers there as often as I could, because they had air conditioning. Our house did not. It was hard to sleep in the winter. In the summertime, when it was freaking humid as fucking hot, it was almost as hard to sleep in the winter because it was poorly heated. My upstairs bedroom, I know the little violin. Go fuck off. Fuck off. My life. The old farmhouse had one heat duct upstairs, and it was split. It opened up into the hallway, so the master bedroom didn't have any heat, and it opened up into a little bedroom that was my sister's. And then she had an adjacent door that emptied into my bedroom, which was twice the size of hers, and it did not have a heat vent either. It had its own stairway, which is what kind of made it special, but it did not have a heat vent. So you learned to deal with the cold and the heat as best you could. It wasn't until I got 18 that I bought an air conditioner, and me and my dad went through a couple roundhouse arguments over that air conditioner, and I won. Not necessarily a good thing. Now I look back. and it was not necessarily the right thing either. But my uncle Bob, he liked little boys, sometimes little girls. Remember that part about having over 30 damn cousins? I got one aunt and uncle. The uncle's still alive. My aunt passed away. He got 7 damn kids. Not hard. My mom, dad. My mom had 5 living siblings. Mom was the only one that had 2 kids. Everybody else had 3 and up. It added up quick, right? We're not even talking dad's side of the family. That's a whole nother thing. So my Uncle Buck had no problems doing what he wanted. And I was too young to know that that was wrong. And nobody talked about it. It was the 70s. Nobody talked about that sort of stuff. It wasn't talked about. This went on until I was almost 14. Because I didn't know it was a bad thing. When I got a little older, I started hearing all the gay stuff. Well, the gay this and the gay that. But that was gay stuff. I didn't love a man. I wasn't in love with my uncle. But my uncle treated me like my father should have treated me. He treated me decent. He took me to movies, my uncle did. He just had a price. And I didn't realize what that price was. But it gets better. It gets better. Because at a certain point, your mind starts to warp. Change? Warp. A lot of people argue your mind's getting warped at this point. Which, there's some truth to this. It's not gay to enjoy a blowjob. You don't have to like the facts, but a blowjob is a blowjob. And truth is, dudes can do a better blowjob than women. Imagine that a lot of guys actually can do a better blowjob than women. You don't talk about that, do we? Why would you? Why would you? Right? So when you only see as pleasure, you don't realize it's a thing, and it's a terribly, terribly bad thing. It starts fucking with your head. The whole idea fuck with your head. But it gets better. Or worse, depending on your view. He had 3 children, 2 of which his son had his way with me when he wanted to. And I didn't say no because it was normal. And his daughter, his oldest daughter specifically, took my virginity. My actual, female-male virginity when I was 11. In a swimming pool, actually a little wading pool at my folks' house when she was supposedly babysitting my sister and I. She also took the virginity of my friend David, my best friend David, too. Imagine that, right? That just further screws with your head, especially when you're a young person. It really screws with your head. So, as my friends and I were we entered high school and we get into that dating age. We start wanting to date girls and have relationships because that's what you do. That's how you're supposed to be and that's how you're supposed to act. I had a much different view on that sort of thing. I had I should have lower base expectations. Sex was always on the table as far as I'm concerned because that's what we do as adults. That's what the adults did to me and with me as I was growing up. So I looked at the young ladies, and if I couldn't get in their pants within a date or two, there was no third date. That's the truth. That make me a bad person? But I guess. But what did I have? What did I know? What did I know? Look at what I was being taught and had been taught. And it fucks with you. It fucks with you. If it tells you it don't, they're full of shit. It does fuck with you. And not in a good way. And sometimes in ways we don't understand till decades later. Right? So now I'm in my mid-teens, late teens, the end of the high school era. 16, my cousin introduced me to my ex-wife-to-be. My ex-wife was pit bull ugly. She was a dog. She was straight up ugly as sin. From the neck up. From the neck down, she was banging. My God, she had a body on her. Nice big tits, nice ass. and she knew how to fucking play. Oh boy, she knew how to play. Because she had been introduced at a very young age. So did all of her sisters. Just saying. So my ex and I, through our last junior and senior high school, had this on again, off again relationship. Not a very healthy one. And I'll tell you, I met my ex-wife. The night I met my ex-wife, it was a blind date. I went over to pick her up at her mom's, and she was fighting with one of her sisters and physically grabbed her sister and threw her at the big picture window in the front of the house and broke it. Sent her sister flying through the window at the front of her mom's house. And she come running out, jumped in my car, which was at the time was a 67 Chevy pickup, and said, "I don't care where we go, what we do, I ain't coming home tonight." Right on! That's the kind of date I want. We just gonna get it on. And we did. And necessarily was a good thing. This led me to believe, in my mind that we had a relationship and that she loved me. And when we graduated from high school, I went down to the Marine or to the Navy recruitment office at 18 and looked at my prospects. And the recruiter took one look at my fat belly. I was 18 and weighed 230 pounds. So I had a belly on me. I was a little fat. And he said, "Well, you're too fat for the military. You go drop 20 pounds, son. Come back, talk to me. Let me see you drop 20 pounds." Now, I should have taken up on the challenge and dropped the 20 pounds. That's just body. That's water weight, really. What the recruiter didn't get, that was pretty healthy boy for being fat, 230 pounds. 230 pounds at 18. I spent my summers baling hay. I could fling 100-pound bales of hay all damn day long. Many cases, overhand, one hand, pick it up like one hand like this, with the bottom on this, and throw it upwards to get it up on that next layer for the feller up there to stack it up. Because that's part of baling hay, the old barrel, the old square bales. Everybody does round bales today. The old square bales. And I did that all summer. When I wasn't doing that, I was mowing lawns. When I wasn't doing that, I was washing dishes at a local fucking restaurant. Worked my ass off, even when I was a teenager. But the Navy said I wasn't good enough for them. That kind of fucked with my head too. I just said fine. At that point, I was working as a dough master. If you know what a dough master is, then you've worked at Pizza Hut back in the day. I was a dough master. I just got out of high school, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do with my life. And my ex and I were fighting something fierce. And then she calls and tells me, my mom threw me out. My mom threw me out. Well, she graduated high school too. And her mom had a caveat. Her mom was a welfare queen. Her mom was everything that Ronald Reagan was telling people that should be a bad thing about, welfare people. She was a great example of how the system can be played if you're willing to play it. I didn't meant that they lived a fantastic life. They didn't by any means. I absolutely guarantee you they didn't. But they sure lived a pretty damn good life. Of course, we're talking the 80s when things were a little different and people's money went further than the shit that we got now. Fucking Reagan. Her youngest daughter, they were able to get an acreage with a barn and a 3-bedroom house, I think it was. It was a tiny house on the east side of Des Moines. It's about 2 or 3 acres of property on Section 9. Title 18, 19, whatever the fuck it was, low-income housing. It was like $60 a month for her, if I remember what she was paying, and then the low-income housing paid the rest of the rent. So that allowed her to buy her youngest daughter a horse, and pamper the fuck out of her. But she had my ex-wife's mother, my ex-mother-in-law, had 5 daughters. 5 daughters. Every daughter had a different dad on purpose. That old lady, when she was younger, made sure to have enough children that her youngest turned 18 within a month of her being eligible for Social Security. Tell me that wasn't set up, that her mom didn't game the system. Her mom figured the system out and made it work for her, and I can't fault her for that. What I do fault her for is how she treated her kids, how she raised her kids, and how she would go. It seemed like every 6 months or so, she'd go out to the bars till she found somebody with a little money who's usually much older than her, so she could roop the shit out of them until she couldn't get no more. New furniture, a new car, a nice used car, this, get out. And on a couple occasions, it turns out that it was the old man was doing, the guy in question was being generous, not because of my ex-mother-in-law, because she was. You ever see Pee-wee's Big Adventure? You ever see Pee-wee's Big Adventure? If you have not, Google Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Large Marge, because that lady, that cackling monstrosity driving the truck, could have been a carbon copy of my ex-mother-in-law. Just saying, all right? So now I'm into my 18s. All through my high school years, you're either going to be in the top 5% of your class, and then everybody does everything they can to encourage you to go to college, get better grades, to do this and do that. If you're in the lower 20%, you're a dumbass. I was somewhere in between. I just didn't count. Now, I graduated from high school in 1985, and I was almost 1,000 people in my graduating class. That is not an exaggeration. I got the damn photos to prove it. My graduating class was just shy of 1,000 people. It was 990 or 980 something, and we covered the entire football field of the high school. The center section to the 50-yard line on both sides had chairs. All the way from one side to the other side. Big ass class, a big ass school. Easy to get lost in the crowd. Nobody encouraged me to do anything. My dad, my uncles, nobody. Nobody seemed to have an idea, or they just didn't give a shit. So, 18 years old, Navy tells me to go fuck off. My ex-wife gets thrown out of her house. So I don't want her shacking up with somebody else, so I bring her to my folks, and I'm living with my parents. And my mom says, no, you're not shacking up in my house. You'll get her pregnant. Not to mention all the bullshit that goes with it. And I said, look, I'll move to the basement. She can have my bedroom. We'll figure this out. No. You ain't shacking up my house. So I said, fine. I'll get married. Mom was taken back by a minute. I was true to my word. I went down the next day to the county, to the county whatever, and applied for a marriage license. Took 2 weeks for it to show up in there. I called my grandma. Yeah, I called my grandma and asked my grandma to. Got air tank getting low. I asked my grandma to officiate the marriage in my parents' living room, right? My parents, or my grandmother came out. My mom, it was a couple days later, because I was working overnight and I slept off the night. Next thing I get a yelling down the stairs, get your ass up. Well, my friend David showed up, so get your ass up, you're getting married. So he showed up with a 6-pack of beer. Mom had called him, so he was my best man. We had a couple beers in the basement while I pulled on my jeans and a t-shirt, and Grandma married us in the living room upstairs. And then my ex-wife and I had our honeymoon in a tent down in the pasture. That was how I got married right out of high school. It took 2 years to pay for the divorce lawyer to divorce her. In that 2 years, we were together and then we weren't. For a brief window, we rented a trailer on the south side of Des Moines. That fell through. She cost me at that point I'd switched to a management job as assistant manager at a Domino's, and she cost me my job. She was, back then they had these little stickers. Every pizza you ordered, you'd get this sticker. And then the sticker, you add up 10 stickers or something like that, and you get a free pizza. Well, she was just filling out the damn things and calling the Southside Domino's and having them deliver pizza like once or twice a week. Well, I didn't steal any of that, but I was married to her, so I lost my job. This started the downhill thing. Closest I ever come to murdering somebody had to be that incident. I was so mad. And my cousin Robbie came over, and his wife at the time, Sheila, and they were buddy. Sheila and my ex were they were high school friends. They were troublemakers. Grew up together as troublemakers. Anyway, well, we're gonna go do this. We're just gonna fuck you, and we're gonna run out, and we're gonna go to the bar, blah blah blah. And so they stormed out of the trailer and was schlepping their way across Southeast 14th, which is a major thoroughfare for the city. And I told my cousin, I said, fuck this. We get in the car, we'll go out to the bar. We'll go out to get some beers too, go out to the bar. And I was so upset. We get out on the highway and I see her, and I decide I'm going to run her down. And that ain't no bullshit. I literally started speeding up, and then they ran across the street and jumped the medium. So I took my car over the medium. It was 1977 Grand Prix, right? Big 400 under the hood, a lot of power under it. And that medium was about a foot high, and I drove over it. I'm lucky I didn't shred the bottom of my damn car. But the sheer amount of violence the car did going over that medium woke me up to and I decided at that point I came to my senses, and my cousin, and we drove on down the road, my cousin looked at me and said, I thought you was really going to run it down. I said, I was. This led me to, like I said, 2 years of nightmare. And in the process, of course, she'd move out, we'd get in a huge fight, then she'd get in a huge fight with whoever she was staying with or her mom's, and then she'd move back in with me. This went back and forth for 6-8 months, and then I said, no, we're done with this. And I sat down, the last time she packed her crap and ran out the door, I sat down in my folks' basement with a loaded shotgun in my mouth for a couple hours. The only reason I didn't pull that trigger was, one, A, I didn't really want to die, and B, I didn't want my mom to be the one to have to find me and clean up the mess, because that's what it would have been. You know, I do have some empathy in there. I didn't want Mom to see this. I carried that shotgun shell in a little box until a few years ago. About 6 years ago, when we bought my current wife and I bought our first house we've ever owned in our life. I've ever owned in my life. We bought it when I was 55. So I found that little box when he was moving stuff in out of storage, and then there was that 20 gauge shotgun shell with my name on it, because I put my name on it and the date as a reminder of just how bad things can really get. And I thought, couldn't get much worse than that. Boy howdy. Right? It gets better. Not. So I went from pizza place to pizza place to pizza place, trying to find a career. Then I got fed up with the pizza places, restaurants. I went to convenience stores, right? And I made management. I started out as a nighttime pump jockey, and I've got scars where people tried to stick me with a damn knife because I wouldn't sell them booze. I have lots and lots of stories of some of those locations. I started out as a pump jockey, ended up as a manager. Was manager at 2 separate locations, and what I came to the conclusion was managing a convenience store in the 80s sucked bad. They didn't pay very good. The best salary I got was $335 a fucking week, and I was working salary, which meant I could be working 24/7, 7 damn days a week, because the station was open all night long and somebody had to be there. And that's part of being the manager. It burns you out after a while. And the only way you made any real money was through a profit share program that they had at the time, but any overtime, any drive-offs, any internal thefts, any external thefts, all that comes off your top first. Like you're some kind of franchisee that you own the gas station. So if on a good month, maybe I'd get a couple $300, because all the locations I ever worked in were shitholes. We're sections of the city. One of the reasons I had so many damn stories is because they were literally in the worst sections of the city. So I did that crap until 1991, 1990. And I got a job working for a factory. I started out as a manpower temp. That's true. My first job there at this Jefferson Smurfit Stone Container Corporation that made bags, paper sacks, cardboard, corrugated, grocery sacks, feed bags, that kind of stuff. All that sort of stuff. And I got the job there as a manpower temp and worked almost a year, actually a little over a year as a temp. It was because of not being there was all kinds of temps there. But because I had been there the longest, the union put their foot down at the company and said, look, you can either hire these people or get rid of them. Because anytime you've got a temp from that length of time, it ain't a temp. You're just trying to sidestep something. So I signed, and somebody says, well, you should go sign up that bid for that job. Well, I signed it up, and another guy says, well, you don't work here. You're not union, and you don't actually work for the company. You can't sign that bid. I said, okay. And then a couple of weeks later, the union, or the company just told all the manpower people, nice having you here, and send us on our way. And I got this little call from my controller at the manpower office saying, well, yeah, they were really upset too, because I was such a, they really was proud of how long I'd worked at that job. I mean, really? I should have taken that as a sign then, but I was stupid. For as smart as I am, that's another thing. I've always had a slightly above average IQ, or a slightly above average understanding of common sense, depending on how you want to look at it. This means I'm not a follower. I've never been a good follower. I haven't. But I don't want to be a leader either, because I'm wise enough to see how much bullshit that really involves, and most leaders get screwed at the end of the day. Ask Biden, right? It happens, right? It happens. So I went to work for this company, and I met my current wife. We've been married over 32 years now. So I was 1992. There was a big ass flood in Des Moines, here in Des Moines, Iowa. It shut the waterworks down. That's what made it such a thing. I believe Bill Clinton, President Clinton, came to the scene because it was the first time as far as I know, ever that a state capital had its water system shut down because of flooding. It was pretty bad. And my current wife and I, we were dating at that point. And I was working the second shift, and my sister calls me and says, you should come out when you get off work, stop by this bowling alley. And she was there, and my mom was there, and my future mother-in-law was there, and there's my future wife. My future wife was dumb as a bag of rocks. I say that with love. She was a quiet country girl, really huge fan of Alabama, who was not a very sophisticated person, and she's a bit off in the head. She also had a magnificent rack on her, and she was cute. Remember what I said about my ex? My ex had nothing on my current wife back then. Now you would look at my current wife now, and no, she's put on a lot of weight. Age has not been her friend, and her epilepsy, which is what she's had since she was 5 years old, has progressed to the point where she can't hold a job down anymore. She will have seizures at work, and it freaks everybody out. Nobody wants to do that. This is one of the reasons that enabled her to get on full disability. My wife worked for 20 years. 20 years for Casey's. That's a Midwestern convenience store chain. 20 fucking years. And they fired her. They let her go because of liability issues. They wrote her a nice letter which helped push along her ability to get the disability. But the point was, she worked for 20 damn years. She earned that disability. She's entitled to it. So they talk about entitlement programs. It's entitlement because we fucking pay into it, you fuck ass. Yeah, it's entitled. We're entitled to it because we need it to survive on, you fuck asses. And for you fuck asses that voted for these people to put it out of commission, fuck all of you. Ain't none of you asses on my members of my family who did that shit, voted against all the stuff that and they themselves need to fucking have. They can all die and rot. There won't be no fucking getting together with them ever. I understand what they are now. Fuck them. Because that's what they did to the rest of us. And now they're over there crying. Well, what do you mean that Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act's the same thing? I need my insurance. You think? So do I, you fuck ass. So that ain't gonna happen, is it? Good possibility we lose it. Then where the fuck we gonna be? So I worked at this company until 2000. Then we had a strike. And I was this place that has this nice little thing called right to work. So pretty much, if the company decides to shut its door, you strike, the company can shut the door on you. And you don't have any recourse. You're just out of a job now. Your union just basically costs you your job. Because your union's not going to get you another job. You know, there just isn't enough union jobs to go around anymore. And even then, the unions were really in bad shape. I was a member of the Teamsters for 9 years. So I had that strike. Lasted for almost, not quite a year. Then, because of the strike, I was able to get retraining money through the United Way, a government grant that was forgivable, so I didn't have to pay it back, to go to college. So I went to college 2000. Well, we're still on strike. I went to college on this retraining grant. And the first thing that went in there, I was 30, going on 30, 31. And so I go in, and the counselor says, "Well, what kind of degree you looking for?" And I said, "I've always had a fascination with computers. I mean, I'm not a programmer or anything, and I don't have the desire to be a math wizard kind of stuff thing. But I have some creativity, and I'm a kind of an artistic person. So can we do something with art and computers?" And they said, "Well, how about computer-aided design, rendering? Learn how to program stuff for CNC machines and for doing blueprints and things like this." I thought, yeah, I could do that. I did 5 semesters and graduated. I did an accelerated 5 semesters, so I did it in just under 2 years. I didn't get a break. I didn't get no summer break, nothing like that. And they gave me an Associate of Applied Sciences, an ass degree. That's all it's been good for, is just being an ass. So I get this degree, and I start going out looking for jobs. I graduated with a 3.98 GPA. 3.98. You tell me if that's good or bad. Just in the top 5 of my graduating class. At least that's what they said. What the piece of paper I got somewhere, stashed away somewhere, said. Oh boy. Right? Oh boy. So I'm still living at my parents' house. And I got a little girl about 8 years old. Brenda and I did. And she's working her butt off at Casey's. And I can't find, in my entire life, I kept convincing myself I would always be the failure. Could never do nothing useful. Every job I ever had, never turned, it always seemed to go south somehow. Nobody said go to school. So eventually I go to school, and I did very good at it, very well. So I go out and I start applying for jobs. What I don't realize is during the time I'm sitting in school, I've slipped into a depression. And I'm not a shrink. I'm not even going to pretend to say I even know a shrink. So sometimes you can be in a depressive state and you don't know that you're depressed. And it will affect with your head. And it feeds in with those things that have been affecting you for your entire lifetime that causes you problems. Things got really bad. I go out to apply for a job, and the job market wasn't that good. And I got 8, 9 interviews in about 2 months in relation to my degree, and all of them said no, and the reasons were similar. I was 30 years old and had no experience whatsoever in anything that remotely relates. So if I'd been in a factory job manufacturing components on a CNC machine, if I'd worked at construction, what did I do? I worked in convenience store management and restaurants, and I drove a forklift for 9 years in a warehouse. None of that translates to real world experience for the diploma that I got. So it became clear to me that my diploma was worthless. Or I became very despondent and very upset. I started drinking pretty heavy, right? Let's go back a little bit to when I was 18 and I tried to join the Navy, and the Navy told me to fuck off. And such, nicer terms, but go away, fat man. Go away, fat boy. We don't want you. Shortly after that, the assistant manager at the Pizza Hut that I was working at introduced me to weed, right? And boy, howdy, I liked that stuff. And I liked it a lot. And so I got hooked on it, and then I went up and down wrestling with this addiction my whole life. And then the alcohol. I was never an alcoholic, but I had alcoholic tendencies, meaning that I'll drink to get hammered. I don't drink for casual stuff. Oh, just have a beer. I'd rather have a pop or a bottle of water as opposed to just have a beer for the sake of a beer. You drink beer to get drunk. That's the whole point in my head. Other people will say otherwise, and rightly so, but that's just the way I was. And so the depression kept getting worse. I can't find a job. I hadn't had a job. So when the strike ended with the shut doors, I had no income. The whole time I was in school, I convinced myself that it would be my full-time job was to do the best I could at school and get the best grades I could, and then spend the rest of my time stoned and playing video games and fucking off. All right? Which is a big chunk of a lot of people's lives today. And so what happened? Once again, I graduated pretty damn top up in the top 5%. Very high number out of a very large graduating class at the community college. And could never find a degree or job with that damn degree. And that led me to get extremely depressed. And I was drinking pretty heavily, and I was stoned when I could afford it. Beer's cheaper and easier to get. So you tend to lean on that when you can't lean on the other one. So you're still leaning on it. And I didn't think about it at the time, but my wife and I, like I said, you don't like any of this crap, and you've listened to me this long, fuck off. If you listen to me this long and you're at least being empathetic, thank you, right? But it don't get better. I failed terribly at this. My daughter, I didn't think about it, but my wife and I back then, we were young and we used to sleep in the nude all the time. Been thinking of. So I was working when I was on my days off or at night, and in this case I was going to school full time. Now the school's graduated, and I'm trying to find a damn job, and I'm not finding a job, and I'm finding myself, oh my God, I'm going to have to go back to a convenience store or a fucking warehouse. The whole, what was the whole point of all this college if it's worthless? I got very upset about it, and I wasn't thinking about it. And my daughter came into the bedroom one Sunday morning, got in bed with us. Well, we're still naked. My wife got up and left, and my daughter stayed with us, and I didn't think nothing of it. A couple of weeks later, I get a police officer talking to me, wanting to know why I was sleeping, why I was sleeping naked with my kid. You can't explain that. You can't justify it. It was an accident. It was stupid. It wasn't intentional. I mean, it really wasn't. But I understood from all my own previous experience. And so did the police. They understood some of my backstory too. They weren't having it. There was no, you don't have a fancy lawyer, you're screwed. It's what kind of deal can they get? And they lie, and they're able to lie to you. The police are able to tell you anything they want to tell you to get you to acknowledge something. And of course, being the smart man that I am, well, I understand that this sort of thing took place. And I said, oh, wait a minute, it wasn't like that at all. It was like this. I was honest. And I did 13 years in prison for that honesty. And they took our daughter from us. Now, my parents fought tooth and nail and got custody of her. My wife had to move into a little apartment. And when our daughter turned 18, my dad had passed away the year or two before, and things were not going well at mom's. And my daughter decided, you know, fuck everybody, and moved out and moved off to do her own life. And she had her own trials and tribulations, and the first few years was pretty bad. And now she, you know, I don't know where I know vaguely where she's at. I know she's got a family. I've got grandkids, but they don't talk to us, don't come around. And why should she? I don't fault her for any of that. You can't. And every now and then, the boss is like, well, you should talk to her. You should send her. You don't understand what. That's considered re-victimization. If your victims choose to ignore you and stay away from you, it's not your position to make yourself feel better by imposing yourself upon them. Now, if they come to you, now you're talking a different set of parameters. It's like, I hope someday that one of my grandkids will come see us. I don't know what to tell them, but other than the truth, which has always been part of my problem. I'm an honest person by nature. I don't lie well. I never have. And the older I get, the less I want to try. I just want to live the best life I can do, which I seem to utterly fail at every fucking turn. 13 years in prison. I did 13 years. While the whole time I was sitting in there, I was going crazy the first couple of years. First year I was there, I was literally starting to lose my mind. And this other fellow, he says, look, man, you got to find something to engage yourself. You know. So he said, write a book. And I said, you're high. Man, I ain't writing no damn novel. I can't do that. Why not? So that, I wrote 6. 6 of them. Hey, no shit. I got a video on my other YouTube channel somewhere with a stack of, of written material that I have never typed up because it was all handwritten while I was in prison. There was no way to save it, except I wrote a chapter or 2 or 10 to 3, whatever, and I mailed it home, and Mom stored it for me, kept it. I also created this. This is book 1 of 3. This is a role-playing game, or a video game for the table. I guess it's a science fiction world builder. So you start out with a little colony and some ships and some stuff like that, and you expand to build yourself a big empire. And there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. And I started out because I was desperate for something to fucking do that wasn't playing cards or working out in the wayyard. And I did my share of that too. I learned a lot of card games I never cared to play and never have since. And I went from I was 420 pounds, by the way, when I went to prison. 2003 actually. And I weighed 265 when I got out, so the prison diet plan will help you if you let it. All right, I've put on a little weight since then, but I've been pretty good about keeping it down around 300 pounds. Up and down about 5 or 10 pounds, but it goes. Every now and then, some people go, you know, I forget that you're a sex offender. I never forget. You can't. You don't dare. So I don't go places. I don't hang out where there's kids at. I don't want to be around them. I don't want somebody to perceive me as a problem, which means I isolate myself a lot more. And then I got this job that isolates myself even more. And all I can think of is I've worked my ass off my whole life, and I've shit on my life, and my life's been shit on. Some of it's my doing, some of it isn't. And I can't go back and fix any of that. Can't fix any of it. So we sit around here, and what do we get? Work your ass off till you die. That's what it boils down to. Work yourself to death in America, pursuing this lame idea of a dream that's been dead since the 50s. The American dream. The American dream is in the handful of the 600 plus billionaires in this fucking country. The top 10%, the 1% of 1% actually, but the top 1% for sure has the lion's share of the fucking money now. I haven't had a decent raise in a long time. My idea of health care is through the Affordable Care Act, and the only reason I got that, my deductible is $9,600 a month. Some Obamacare, that is. Sure sounds good, don't it? The only thing that saves me is that I can go to the county hospital, and because I'm under a certain poverty level, I make less than $65,000 combined with my wife's disability. that I qualify for a local charity that will pick up the balance of what the insurance won't. Otherwise, I would have no health care. I couldn't afford to go and use my health care. I couldn't afford to do it. I have to support our house and our lifestyle and what there is of it on what I get, plus my wife's pension, or my wife's a disability payment of $1,000 a month, which is nothing. $1,000. How does old people live today? How do they even survive? Most of them. And we're talking about taking that away from them. Oh, well, we're not going to take it away from the ones that are. Oh, no, you're going to take it away. You're going to diminish it. You're going to find ways, because that's what the Republicans have been wanting to do since it came out. Because big business owns the Republican Party. That's something the MAGA seems to forget. Oh, but they're going to learn. Y'all are going to learn. And y'all are going to join the bullshit that's been my life. So this is just another chapter of the many chapters of the bullshit that's been my fucking life, of what there is of it. And I should be proud of what I've accomplished. Should be proud. The so-called treatment program that they had in the state at that time was basically to keep you in prison till you're ready to go, till we could just keep you as long as fucking possible. And then when they finally did get you to the so-called treatment program, the treatment program was bullshit. They had taken bits and pieces, a chapter here and half a chapter there from a dozen different psych books and some stuff they made up themselves. And the thing was supposed to take almost 2 years to complete, a year and a half to complete. And they managed to do that because we only had class once or twice a week for a few hours or an hour. And mostly you told your story. Just what I told you is what I had to tell everybody while I was sitting in prison. Oh, this is Iowa, not wherever the fuck y'all. So prisons in Iowa, they're warehouses. They're just boring as fuck. Now, I'll grant you, I was 6'2", or was, I'm now 6'1". I'm starting to shrink. I think I'm closer to 6 feet now. I was 6'2" when I went to prison, 420 pounds, got down to 265, was able to bench press my weight, do deadlifts about 200 pounds, although I was trying not to do too many because I didn't want to throw my back out. I was 100-pound or 80-pound dumbbells for curls and other shit like this. I did a lot of crazy shit. It took me a long time to get up to where I could do that stuff. It's not something I just sat down and started doing. First time I got convinced to go out on the weight yard, I thought, well, this is stupid. And I get out there and the guy's like, hands me an empty bar. And he says, we're going to do some 21s. And I'm looking at him like, there ain't no weight on this. Are you joking me? And he says, there ain't no joke. You're going to find out. And he was not wrong. We did, I don't remember how many sets. It was, you do 7, 7, and 7. That's why it's called 21. 7 down, 7 up, and 7 full arm reps. Curls is what we're doing. We're doing this shit, and we're doing this shit, and we're doing this shit, and we're doing it, And so you do, and each one of those is a set. By the time I got done doing the set, my arm was broke. I couldn't barely lift that damn bar. And he was laughing. He says, when I was in the Marine Corps, this is how we got taught in boot camp. He says, those rifles weigh like 20 pounds. He says, you're going to do this with those rifles. You see them in the videos and stuff where they're out there doing the calisthenics. They got their rifles. This is why they do those. Oh my God, right? So I was in 3 different prisons while I was in this 13 year of being honest to the police. Here's the thing that really cheesed me off. Well, just irony. I deserved it, right? Had I not been honest, this is what the lawyer told me, the public defender, because I couldn't afford a regular lawyer. I had to get a public defender, and the public defender was just brutal. Said, look, no offense, you've just you basically shit all over your case. All we can do now is just see how much time you're going to get. He said, and she said, look, start with, you should never said a damn thing. When the cops start asking you, just say, demand a lawyer. Demand a lawyer. Demand a lawyer. Don't explain. Don't agree. Don't discuss. Don't talk. Don't do none of that crap. Johnny Law says anything to you short of a traffic ticket violation shit. Anything serious, you clam your mouth shut, demand a lawyer. If that means you go to county jail overnight for doing it, you're better off. Keep your mouth shut. Talk to that lawyer first. Because had I not told the truth, then there would have been conjecture and other stuff, and I could have probably got off with a slap in the fucking wrist. So I screwed myself more than once. And you know what? There was no perverted sex either. I passed three lie detector tests as part of that treatment program. Did that matter to them? Of course not. So I got within 6 months of discharge. At this point, they're like, well, we're going to send you to, we should get you out to work release. Well, the work release in Des Moines, at Fort Des Moines, didn't want me. You don't have more than a year to go, they don't want you because they're not going to make enough money off of you. You're a pain in their ass. So the only one that I could go to was like way upstate, so far from home. And my mom was home by herself. My wife was home with my mom was home. My wife was there helping her out, and my aunt was there basically destroying the house and my mom's life. But that's okay. That's another story for different. Like I said, the bullshit is very long and thick in my life and my family. A lot of it. Yeah. So when I sit there and I grew up in the Pentecostal church and I was taught all about how Jesus this and Jesus that on one hand and how uncle loves you this way and uncle loves you that way and cousin loves you this way and cousin loves you that way, it really screwed with my head. And so in the last year or so, I've been listening to a lot of these same people, MAGA diehards, people that I know and grew up around. And all I could think is, first off, you don't know half of what you're talking about. You haven't even bothered to learn what it is you're talking about. Tariffs. None of these idiots in my family know what a fucking tariff is. The handful that do know damn well what they are, and they didn't vote for the idiot who wants to put them in place. Oh, but I didn't know Affordable Care Act and Obamacare was the same thing. Why? Google's everywhere. You can Google right off your phone. Why? Because you're like my wife who doesn't want to do Google. She's scared of it. Or you're just a moron. Or you're willfully stupid. That might be madder than anything else. I know these people are smarter than this. Now they're starting to wake up a little bit, and I'm starting to hear some of that. Oh, I don't know. Did we vote for the right guy? Too late now. Too late now. So, I lose my health care because of these fuck asses. Potentially could lose our jobs because, the layoffs have already started, MAGA. Hello. The job layoffs have already started. I hear GM's laying off 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 people. Tesla 6,000. Tesla, y'all MAGA's so supportive of Elon Musk. You imagine how many of those Tesla people voted for their boss to show up for work, to be told by the security guard at the gate that they no longer have a job because their ID won't scan. 6,000 people. Watch the YouTube, man. The damn layoffs are popping up every day now. A different company's got to lay off. It's picking up. The big box stores are telling us all. Those tariffs go into play, all the prices are going to go up. And everybody, the tariffs and the Chinese tariffs did real well. Yeah, it screwed the damn farmers over so bad back in 2016 or whenever the fuck you put that in play that they had to bail them out. Guess we're going to be doing that again, right? How many trillions of our national debt will increase over the next 4 years because of these people and their ideas? Oh, we're going to move millions of people. We're going to round up millions of people from all over the country and ship them to hundreds of countries worldwide, wherever the fuck they came from. We're shipping them back at our cost, the taxpayer dollar. We're going to ship all these people back. One. Most of these people are doing jobs that you and I don't want to do or will not do. I grew up on a farm, near a farm. I spent most of my life working around farmers. I have worked the fields. That is hot, dirty, backbreaking, unappreciated, low-paying work. There's a reason why grown-ass adults in America don't pick fruits and vegetables. Americans don't do that because it's too much work. for too little pay. Too hard. Some of the best paying jobs for non-college kid people, construction. I'm understanding that some states like California and Texas, 20%, 25% of the work pool are undocumented labor. So you're going to yank all these people out from under our current economy. All these people work jobs. They all are paying into the economy because they are making jobs. They're not getting paid under the table. These fuckers are getting paid and they're getting taxes taken out, Social Security taken out, even though they can't take it and use it, and other shit. So when I hear somebody around me go, well, I just wanted to stop using my my Social Security money to put these people up in hotels. Well, A, it ain't your Social Security money they're using. They're using other tax dollars for that, I grant you. But it's not your Social Security. Where the fuck you get that? And this lady in question's a very smart cookie. Really? You're not that stupid at all. You're just willfully ignorant because it doesn't fit your narrative. These same people are diehard Christians. Huge Christians. You voted for the idiot who wants to get rid of Social Security, who wants to murder a bunch of people and be okay to do it, wants to mass expel a bunch of low-end workers that we desperately need, and want to take all your freaking entitlements away from you. All of them. Oh, on the concept that maybe we have a plan to replace it. Really, do you? I know what the plan is. The Republican Party's had a plan for health care for decades. No. And it's not concepts of a plan either. Since was it Bush Sr.? Is it Bush Jr. that come up with let's get a Medicare Advantage. What is that? All these extra things? No, you stupid fuck. Oh, good. They'll give me $1,000 a month to buy groceries and stuff. No, they won't. That's money they're taking out of your health care. And they're not going to reimburse it for you, and they're not going to give you $1,000 a month forever. Because it doesn't work that way. You get a one-time thing and it burns out. Maybe you get another one, but it burns out. But guess what? It all comes off the back end of what they're going to allow you to use. There's the difference between a corporate-run healthcare system and the government. The government takes $100 out of your wallet for Social Security and for Medicare. 90% of that, 90 cents out of that dollar, goes to what? To Medicare, to Social Security, to be utilized by people who need that. Now, we're the middleman in, because we know how great the corporations run shit today. We're gonna take this entitlement program away from the control of the federal government and give it to a private entity who's going to make it Medicare Advantage. And they're going to what? How much of a profit? Well, traditionally 33%. So we're going to pay them $100 every month, and we're only going to get $67 of our value versus the $90 in value we would have got if the feds were still running it, as inefficient as that may seem. Sure seems like the math that. Now, I'm not a guru when it comes to math. I'm not an economist or any of this crap. It just seems like common sense. Hello? Jesus Christ, people. Jesus fucking Christ. Just saying. God damn it.